Okay, so you are getting ready to do the measure a block activity. It's a breeze. It'll take you 10, 15 minutes tops, something like that. Um, what do you need to do first? Well, common sense, you got to get a block. Where are the blocks? The blocks are over on the east wall of my room. They're in the bottom of the cupboard that has the atoms unit on it. So the black hanging folder that says atoms. If you open up that cupboard on the bottom shelf, that's where you'll find the blocks. And each one has a letter. Just make sure you grab a block that has a letter. It doesn't matter if you get metal or wood or glass or styrofoam or whatever. Then you are going to get to where you need to be in Moodle. That's going to be the measure a block stuff. I would recommend having that open while you watch the video. And then inside the measure a block activity, after you do the questions, I would copy and paste the list. And what do I mean by the list? There's a list there that says what's the length, what's the width, what's the height, what's this area, and so forth. I'd copy all that. Then I would click add submission, and then I would paste it there. And then that just gives you a place that you can do your work. And then you take all your measurements, you hit the submit button, and you're done. I'll grade it, and once I get it graded, you can move on. So what units are you going to use? Are you going to use inches or centimeters? Actually, you don't have a choice. You can't use inches. Inches are, let's face it, they're kind of silly. We use the metric system in science, so we're going to use centimeters. So how do we measure the size of a block? When you guys think of rectangles, chances are you think of like a shoeboxy type thing, where one dimension is longer, this is left to right, and then front to back, it's a little shorter, and then top to bottom, it's a little shorter still. And what we usually do is we say that the longest dimension, the longest length here, we call that length, and then the next longest, we call that width, and then the next longest, we call that height, or the shortest dimension we call height. Kind of like a typical book, I suppose. But what if we have a cube where the left to right is the same as the front to back, and that's the same as the top to bottom? I would call all three of those lengths. So that's a cube. And what about a cube that's kind of been cut in half, like a short stack of square post-it notes? In that case, what I would do is if this left to right is the same as front to back, I would call those both lengths. And then it'd be up to you to call this short dimension width or height. I'd probably call it height. So you got some flexibility there. And if there's an angry geometry teacher out there, don't send me any emails, please. So three of the things you're going to have to measure for the activity are length, width, and height. But you're also going to have to measure areas. And so what is an area? An area is the size of a surface, so something that you could run your hand across. So like I have this video that I took of me messing with one of my blocks right here. Let me play this really quickly. So I've got this block. Here's the length. Here's the width, the second longest. And then here would be the height, top to bottom. And so then I'm going to take a meter stick and I'm going to measure that. Looks to me like it was, oh, let me go back here really quick. Looks to me like the length of it was 20 point something. I've got it written down here too. And then I didn't measure the height, but I also measured the width. And my width was somewhere between 14 and 15 centimeters. So just measuring the length and the width, I can get this surface area, this big surface area right here. So that's just a hunk of styrofoam block that I had sitting around, and I labeled it block M. All right, so let's go back to this note. So a surface area then is the size of one surface. So if I wanted the size of this surface, I would have to measure length and width. Those are the, no, I wouldn't. Length and height, yeah, because this is the height right here and there's the length. So for that surface area, I would do the length times the height. And if I wanted, let me switch colors. Let's say I wanted this surface right here. This surface area would be the width times the height. And then this surface right here, this would be what? The length times the width. So when you do this, when you measure a surface area, you're multiplying centimeters by centimeters. So your answer is going to be in square centimeters. All right, so you can look at any one of these surfaces. Like on the cube, all three of these are going to be the same because all the lengths were the same. And on this, what did they call it, a rectangular or a square prism, this area would be the same as this area, but it would have been different from this area. Let's see here. Let's talk about volume. What is volume? Volume is the size of the whole enchilada, what the whole block could contain. And that is length times width times height. So in that case, we're not just going to have centimeters times centimeters. We're going to have centimeters times centimeters again. So that's going to be cubic centimeters. So that's what our volume is going to be measured in. So if I add a page in here, and my styrofoam block that I looked at with you guys a minute ago, if my length was 20.3 centimeters and my width was 14.7 centimeters, that means those two sides would make an area, I'll call it area 1, an area of, let me bring up my calculator here, wherever that is, that would be an area of 20.3 times 14.7. That would be 298.41. I probably shouldn't go another decimal place, so I'm just going to call that 298.4. And what's that unit going to be? That unit is going to be centimeters times centimeters. That is going to be centimeters squared. So you should be able to do the rest of this activity, right? If you grab a block, you're going to get the length, the width, the height. You're going to measure some number of centimeters, and this side and this side would give you another area. This side and this side would give you another area. And then multiplying all three of these together would give you the volume. This activity then should be pretty easy for you. If you need help, just either ask me or one of your classmates who has already done it, and they can give you a hand.